Since we started making To the Bat polls, we've solved some mysteries.
Yeah, like who were those two people on the subway in the false face arc?
Turns out they were just extras.
Well, extras are people too. And why does Commissioner Gordon say you can be sure if it's Batman in the Black Widow arc?
Right, he's referencing an old Westinghouse ad.
But there's one mystery we can never solve. Why did we spend so much of our childhood watching Gilligan's Island?
Our misspent youth.
Well, let's go make up for it.
To the Bat polls! Welcome to the Bat polls. Yeah, it's us again. You thought you were rid of us, but we're back. At least for now. I mean, we're as you probably know, doing the Bat bits on Patreon, but we thought we'd pop in, share a few things with you, let you know how the book is coming, and so on and so forth. So, this is Tim in Tokyo.
And this is Paul in Hanover, New Hampshire.
I found that I still had some bookmarks for theme versions that we hadn't used, and I think all of them are irritating ones.
This is quite a way to come back, onto the Bat Pulse scene by irritating our fans with irritating versions of the theme.
So this is by Smooth 4, number 4, Life, spelled Lyfe, the electronic dance music version of the Batman theme. Which about 2 minutes in suddenly goes to the Elfman Batman theme for 30 seconds and then goes back to Hefty. And of course the YouTube video that I found this in shows what else but the disco scene from the pilot and the King Tut Batusi scene.
Yes, of course.
Yeah, of course. Everybody
dance now.
This was published to YouTube on December 22nd, 2015. Yes, the channel is also called Smooth 4 Life. So, in case you want to block it or something.
Back in those days, the Bat Pulse podcast was brand new. We were still working on episodes.
Yeah, 2015. Yeah, that was the end of our first year. But yeah, so it's a disco version. It does what it's supposed to do, I guess. But I don't know. It was just kind of.
It sounds like a mashup of 18 other CNC Music Factory tunes,
or 18 other theme versions that we've played already on the show.
Yes, that's true.
Well,
dun 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 dun.
Maybe I need to look for some new ones. I mean, just in the past 10 months since the last time we did a Bat Pulse episode, there's surely been like 30 more surf versions uploaded to YouTube.
You're probably right, but don't call me Shirley.
And there were a couple that it was hard to find writers, I'll get to that in a moment, who understood the really quite unique comedy of the show. I wrote Batnotes, which would be what you'd call, a volume would be what you'd call the Bible these days. And I gave examples of what Batman would do and what he wouldn't do. And those were given to, and pretty religiously followed, at least at the beginning of the show for the rest of the first year and into the second.
Okay, so a few months ago, I requested a scan of a script from our proxy researcher at the University of Wyoming, Barbara, who has since moved on from that job. And along with the script I'd asked her to scan, she sent another document saying, Here, I ran across this and thought you might find it interesting. It's Lorenzo Semple's Batnotes memo, his Bible for the show that was sent to prospective Batman writers in 1965, and that a lot of people had thought was lost forever. So, in fact, Steve Knowles, who's one of our patrons, thank you, wrote, one of my favorite story arcs is The Penguin's Nest, The Bird's Last Jest. Today I happened to listen to the Batpoles episode 84, in which you, Paul, and special guest Ben Bentley discussed the first draft of that script. This episode came out in May 2018. Ben briefly discusses his search for, quote, bat poop, unquote, the affectionate name Lorenzo Semple gave to his Bat Bible that you and Paul have been researching and discussing lately. At that time, Ben made it sound like it was something that might never be tracked down. But here it just fell in our laps, so...
Right, and I suppose that's the only way it ever could have happened, right?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it's... I didn't look, but I don't think it's on the list of the holdings, especially since University of Wyoming has kind of messed that up. The listing is not as good as it used to be in some way. Like, several different versions of the same script, they just kind of lumped them together and said, this script we have, but it doesn't tell you how many versions or what versions they are.
Right. But without Barbara as basically your eyes at Wyoming, this never would have come to our attention. So
for sure.
I didn't mean to say it would sort of fall in our laps, because it definitely didn't. This was because Barbara was on the lookout for all things, Batman related for you. So this is very much something to tip our hat to her for in a big way.
Yeah. So now we've spent 5 episodes of our Patreon show, Bat Bits, going over this memo in detail. And
gosh, was it only 5? It felt like 10 or 15. Not that it was not fun to do. It just seemed like we had lots and lots more episodes than that.
Yeah, I mean, it's 14 pages, and it took. I mean, there was a lot to discuss here.
Well, it's dense. Every 5 lines is an idea. It's just like a chunk of here's one way that we need to tack the entire series, and so it's pretty monumental for Batman fans.
So if you want to hear all that and see the memo, you can support us for $2 a month. But what we're going to do here, we just decided to pick out the points of the memo that were most surprising to us. And we found 7. So it's not really a countdown. These are just kind of in the order that they appear in the memo. We didn't try to rank them. So we're just going to go through this list and talk about each of these points a bit. So, number 1, the GCPD is not ineffectual versus normal bad guys. Semple writes, please don't be too condescending, incidentally, toward Commissioner Gordon, Chief O'Hara, and other minions of Gotham City law. They're extremely adept at solving murders, rapes, stolen cars, etc. Compare Annual Consolidated Statistical Report of FBI concerning crime rates in Gotham City. If they look like unutterable dopes to us, that's simply because we never see them except when they're up against some super crook whom only Batman and Robin can handle. So I'm not sure that the evidence of the show, maybe post-Semple show, quite sticks to that, but...
Yeah, I don't think it does. I think that they became unutterable dopes over time. Now, certainly those first few episodes, like that, marvelous scene in the first arc, in which we see, cops standing everywhere in, deep, well-pressed uniforms, ducking their heads as as Gordon asks them, so you want to do something about this? They're like,
hanging their heads in shame.
Yeah, but, can you imagine, though, seriously, the way that O'Hara was written almost from the beginning, can you imagine him doing very well in a rape case? I have a really hard time with him, doing anything but sort of patting the victim on the head and saying, now. I mean, it just doesn't work for me. He doesn't seem like he's, not progressive, just not like detective-y enough, to be. I don't know. I don't know. It's maybe I shouldn't be going in this direction, but it just seems unlikely to me that they'd be able to handle serious crime, considering how unutterably dopey they become.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe in the early first season they could have, but
Love to hear what any listeners have to say about this.
oh yeah,
Because,
drop us a
you
line.
know, yes, but yes, I've got something to say about camp and this memo at the end of our discussion here.
Okay.
So I'll save up my comment about this for then.
All right. Number 2. These are not whodunits, but the audience wonders what the villain's goal is. So he writes, in the unraveling of these crimes, red herrings may be tossed around with abandon. As we've already pointed out, a major objective of all our crooks is to throw Batman off the trail. Note that in the pilot script, the real objective of the Riddler, heisting the Moldavian mammoth, isn't disclosed till the very end. There's certainly no injunction to follow this slavishly, but it may prove useful in spinning out a tricky tale. There's rarely a whodunit element in a Bat script, so lean heavily on the alternate possibilities. What the devil is this crook really up to? How in blazes is he going to pull it off?
This is kind of brilliant, isn't it? It would never have occurred to me. There have been many times we tried to reconstruct what we thought would be in the Bat Bible, right? I think we even dedicated an episode, maybe of Bat Bits or the Bat Pulls, to that very question.
Yeah, we did.
But this, I don't think I ever would have come up with. I mean, it is demonstrably true in a lot of arcs that this is precisely the way things proceed. Like, it's not like it's never who done it, but rather why done it, or what exactly is the it in who done it here, is really the question. But it is kind of brilliant, and it also pushes us closer to the kind of question of Batman as detective, the characterization of him as a detective who sometimes doesn't let the audience or even Robin know what he's thinking, and then figures things out and then reveals it to the audience at the same moment that he reveals it to Robin, or, busts the crooks. And it ends up adding a kind of tension to the show that I don't really recognize as being part of many shows that aren't like straight up detective police procedural series.
Yeah, so, some examples that come to mind would be Bookworm wanting to steal the rare books from the library. We don't get that till the very end. Or in Death in Slow Motion, Riddler wanting to steal the Great Train Robbery film. That's the last scene.
Right.
So that kind of thing is what he's talking about. Okay, number 3. Henchmen might die in cartoonish fashion. Semple writes, there may be occasional casualties in the course of these horrible, unlawful schemes. It's the habit of our super crooks to form pickup gangs. The Riddler had his infamous molehill mob in the pilot script. The Penguin may throw together a band called the Feathered Finks. It's among these hoodlums that the casualties occur, when they're suddenly accidentally hoist on their own petards. The Feathered Finks might be sucked en masse into a gigantic fan set up to blow away Batman and Robin, presumably shredded to hamburger inside the blades. That's no problem, provided there's no blood. That it's strictly the result of one of their own foul plots backfiring. That the Penguin, or whoever, lives to do battle with Batman and Robin again. The Master Crooks never have any trouble recruiting new gangs upon release from Gotham State Penitentiary. So, there are hardly any examples of this on the show. We struggled to come up with any. Molly would count, although that's not really cartoonish, falling into a nuclear pile.
Well, but it would be cartoonish if there were a he, like the Roadrunner.
Yeah. Although then Batman puts a light touch on it with, what a terrible way to go.
Yes, so, of course. Right. So there's no chance that we're going to take it all that seriously. And it doesn't look very violent. I mean, it almost looks like nothing happened. I was surprised at that in retrospect, because I remembered that as being a much more horrific scene from when I was like 7. Oh, because, it's mortality. So, doing it as lightly as possible for that crowd, the 7, 8, 9-year-olds watching the show, is pretty important.
Yeah.
But we did come up with an example from the movie. And the movie, of course, is, made for a slightly older audience, or pitched at a slightly older audience, I think. But when the goons end up disappearing.
Right, in the Batcave, when Penguin sneaks into the Batcave and then
reconstitutes them?
Yeah, his powdered henchmen, but reconstitutes them with, hard water?
Yes.
And so when Batman and Robin punch them, they just vanish. So, it's stated that they ain't coming back. So that would count.
Pirates, they're gone. Pop like balloons. How did it happen?
Whoever dehydrated those pirates could not have foreseen their accidental rehydration with the heavy water we use in recharging the atomic pile.
Which naturally left them in a highly unstable condition.
You saw it yourself, Robin. The slightest impact was sufficient to instantly reduce them to antimatter.
Antimatter? You mean they won't be coming back?
No, Robin. Not in this universe.
Now, in the new year on Bat Bits, we're going to talk about a script, an early version of a script where this happens. A henchman dies that doesn't happen as shot. So, coming attraction.
Right.
So you talked really about the Bat rules for writers.
Yes.
Could you talk a little bit about the Bat rules?
I wish I had a copy. But I mean, I tried to describe just the things that I've been saying here. I gave sample lines. And I said, Batman never broke the law. It was important. Only one person was ever killed in all of Batman. Only one person ever injured, even. And that was, again, Jill St. John, in the first episode, fell into a nuclear reactor. She was pushed into a nuclear reactor. And that was the end of Jill. And she was vaporized. But after that, decided, don't kill anybody. I mean, there's no gunplay in it at all, anywhere, ever. He wasn't that kind of guy.
But did you talk in the Bat rules about what you're talking about now, the kinds of humor that were acceptable for Batman?
I described it as best I could. I gave examples of things that were right. And there were times when they were rushing to catch somebody. And there's a no parking zone, And Robin would say, stop here, stop here, we got him. And Batman would say, no, we must never break the law, Robin. And wouldn't park there because there was a no parking sign. And I gave that as an example of the kind of things that Batman did, that he was incredibly square, totally square. I mean, that really is the essence of it, and not to try to make him witty. In fact, the more serious and if he could knit his brows and come up with a ridiculous solution to a riddle, that was the better. I don't say the dumber he seemed the better, but the more somber and straight and profoundly silly, but not a jokester.
Just one last thing to say is that poetic justice is very much on Semple's mind here. That they kind of got what they deserved is the issue. It's like if only they hadn't decided to run off with the Joker and become part of his merry band of killers and robbers. If only they hadn't done that, they wouldn't be in a position where they would end up dying because of one of Penguin's traps or Penguin's schemes or whatever.
But I'm feeling like this element ended up kind of getting tossed because it must have. I mean, you'd have to do it just right to avoid bringing the mood down. And I think as the show went on, it would have been more and more out of character to have this kind of thing happen.
I think that's right. But perhaps Semple, who knows what kind of foresight he had about this, but it seems like it's important to mention it, that if you're going to kill someone on the show, this is the only way that you can do it. If you're going to kill a villain, who ends up getting, caught in the crossfire somehow.
Yeah, because he mentions elsewhere that, innocent people never die on Batman.
Yes, right.
The civilians are always fine.
And the plots are not murder plots, except plots against Batman and Robin.
Right.
Nobody, beyond that, it's like kidnapping and larceny and robbery, not murder.
Right.
Every week on Face the Music, an Electric Light Orchestra song-by-song podcast, we go into the history, the chart facts, and discuss every song ELO officially released. We even consult with the Future of Humanity on their opinion of the music. We also go into music by the groups that eventually became ELO. Face the Music, an Electric Light Orchestra song-by-song podcast, can be found on many podcasting sites. And join our YouTube channel, the Electric Light Orchestra Podcast channel, for exclusive episodes.
It's a beautiful new day.
Hello, I'm Ken Holzhauser, and if you're looking for something new in comic books, may I recommend my newest comic, The Quick and the Dad, a love letter to the DC, Marvel, Archie, and Harvey comics of my youth. This comic has everything. It has spaceships, dad jokes, alien invasions, time travel, supervillains, and so many bad puns. Hopefully you'll like it. It's the cutest comic you've never heard of, and it's available today in print and digital from indieplanet.com. That's The Quick and the Dad. Join that other dynamic duo, won't you?
Number 4. Growing up rich in the 66 verse. Talking about Batman here. He believes implicitly that even the worst crook can be reformed. He is fully aware of the advantages he himself has always possessed as a ninth-generation millionaire socialite, realizes that the Penguin and the Riddler and such like may have been driven to criminal careers by unfortunate childhood environments. So, rich people in the 66 verse are not like people who are just out to get more money and screw everybody else. They're recognizing of their own advantage and trying to do right for those who are less fortunate.
Right. Somehow, if you grow up in if you have a fortunate childhood as opposed to an unfortunate childhood, then the chances are practically zero in the Batverse anyway that you will end up, running off to a life of crime. Oh, if only that were true.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yes, I've got, visions of the crypto industry, zipping through my head right now. But that might be too political, so I won't say anything more about it. But, it's yeah, I guess there is something of that mythos in Batman, maybe baked in from the very beginning.
Yeah.
That he had financial advantages that somehow automatically shielded him from becoming a criminal. And of course, 60, 70 years after Batman was created, Mark Millar came up with a character called Nemesis, who was like Batman but evil, really, really rich, and basically just decided what he was going to do with all of his money and his, intelligence, his training, his talents, was to, destroy other people's lives, issue to issue. So, this is very much turning Semple's view of, moneyed advantage on its head.
Mm-hmm. So, yeah, I was just thinking, of course, when we were kids, we would have loved it if the whole Batman show was real, but this is another reason to wish that, that we wouldn't have thought of when we were 9.
Right, that all rich people feel a responsibility to others,
yes.
Rather than looking to take advantage of those others for whatever you can profit from them.
Number 5. Batman and Robin use brain power to escape from traps. Yes, Semple writes, generally speaking, in every script, the ultimate solution should come from sheer Batman-esque brain power, not from some machine. Among other reasons, it's not fair to the crooks if Batman has too many gadgets they don't have. Note again the way this is handled in the pilot script. Examined analytically, Batman's gadgets get him into more horrid jams than they get him out of. I don't think that really panned out.
No.
Which doesn't mean that they aren't a hell of a lot of fun along the way. But essential steps in solution of the Riddler's plot are wholly non-mechanical.
Wholly non-mechanical, Batman?
So this got us thinking, like, there's certainly examples where the escape from the death trap was not accomplished with brain power.
Although right. Coincidence, like power outages, for example, right before the electric chairs are going to zap them.
Yeah, and that's when I mentioned Bat Bits. Now, when we get back to Bat Bits, I'm going to read another note from Steve Knowles that had a counterpoint on that. So another coming attraction.
Excellent.
But we also talked about hot off the griddle, the conveniently timed eclipse that saves Batman and Robin from getting burned, or some other coincidence. Well, and then there are the ones where he has to call Alfred in to help, which always feels a little bit like cheating.
Well, possibly.
No, he's supposed to die. But Batman, you'd better die rather than calling in outside help, because that's cheating.
Well, but Alfred's not, Alfred's family, right? I should say Bat family. So I never thought of that so much as cheating, although it does mean that we don't have... It's more like, Batman's on Who Wants to Be a Millionaire and calls a lifeline, which doesn't seem like the way that he would normally, that the show would normally want him, as if the show had a will to solve the problem.
It's less satisfying if he doesn't break out of it with his own brain power, or even just like, Semple kind of poo-poos it, but to even have the right gadget in his utility belt, which sometimes happens.
Yeah, that's true. And just happening to have it there suggests something about Batman's ingenuity, or maybe his ability to precog what's out there and what the possibilities are of what kind of trap he's going to need to get out of.
Number 6. Inconsistency of what's in the Batmobile's trunk is by design, not an oversight. I had noticed this before with in I guess it's in the pilot, there's a Bat computer in the trunk. And then other times there's nothing in the trunk. When Penguin dumps his take from his wedding in the trunk of the stolen Batmobile.
Right.
Semple writes, there's no reason to limit devices installed in Batmobile to those used in pilot script. Like life itself, Batmobile is in constant process of creative evolution. In pilot, Batmobile had mobile crime computer installed in rear trunk. Well and good. Employ that MCC if it seems useful. On other hand, if your Bat script requires mobile secret writing detector, lo and behold, that's what's discovered when trunk is raised. Absolutely no explanations are required. So just put there whatever you need for the story.
Yes, it's like the cornucopia, the Batmobile of plenty, or the trunk of plenty.
I'm trying to think of other things that might have been in the trunk. I'm only thinking of times that the trunk was empty.
Yeah, I'm having a hard time coming up with anything that we haven't already discussed.
In the first Catwoman, the radioactive cat statue is put in the trunk because it's lead lined or something, just so that the devices don't pick it up. But
right, that's true. So that's another moment where the Batmobile has properties that are helpful in ways beyond just what's inside it.
Right. Or in that same story, the self-fixing flat tires.
Just as I thought, she's mined the road with explosives.
No wonder you had me put on that bat armor. Gosh, you really think of everything, Batman. What's that?
Although the bat armor protected our car, those landmines blew our tires. Robin, turn on the automatic tire repair device.
Oh, right.
And supposedly bat armor on the Batmobile, but you can't see any difference. It's just like, pretend that there's bat armor on the car. It's kind of like playing Batman.
Pretty much, kind of like a tractor beam is like playing Star Wars, Oh no, you can't see it, but it's pulling me into the Death Star. I love this statement about the belt on page 9. Anything you need in that belt is in that belt. No need for our hero to explain. It just so happens I brought along whatever. He simply has it when it's needed. That's why he's Batman.
Right, and that's number 7. Ditto Batman's utility belt.
Right.
Yeah, convenience is also clue to non-fruitful use of Batman's wonderful utility belt. Standard items therein presumably include Batarang, Bat Rope, and other favorites, but anything you need in that belt is in that belt. And even if it won't fit in the belt, like the Bat Shield,
yes,
just have a stagehand stand behind you. And,
right, you conveniently pull it out from behind your cape, and apparently it was in your belt all the time.
In one of those compartments that's a quarter the size of the folded up Bat Shield.
Speaking as a former 7-year-old, I think that the Bat Belt may have been one of the elements that made playing Batman, apart from watching the show, so much fun. Because you could just say, I happen to have, X or Y, and we'd make up some incredibly stupid, childlike fantasy, tool. Like, the kill me the device or something. And just say, well, I just happen to have it here. But I think, kids pick up on that, pretty quick because it seems basically like magic when you're a child. But, if you look at the comics in which Batman really, the Batman's detective work is really depended upon for story points, there's often a point where he has exactly what he needs and then explains afterwards, like in the Denny O'Neil days, that this is what I was thinking. This is why I had this. This is what I assumed was going to happen, or these were the possibilities. And so he's, prepared for contingencies. But when you're kids, it just seems like magic. And that was good enough. That was a good enough. He's Batman. He's a genius. He just kind of pulls the rabbit out of his hat whenever he needs to.
Yes, I mean, it's occurring to me here how some aspects of this are just the same as playing Batman, and so Semple's got this kind of playful aspect to it that whatever you need, whatever Batman needs, is there for him in the Batmobile, in his belt, or whatever.
Because he's Batman.
Yeah. So just like the kids who are playing Batman at home with towels or capes made by their mom around their necks.
And domino masks to make up for the lack of a cowl.
Yeah, and they will also make up whatever they need. I think we talked a long time ago on the show about our friend Bobby Hill, who we hated playing Batman with because whether he was Batman or the Joker, and it was always one or the other, he had an answer for everything, and you could not defeat him.
That's right. He was a better Batman cosplayer than we were in that sense.
He was a little older than me, so.
Yes, so he could take advantage of our youth and inexperience.
So do we need to go down to the creek and brush our teeth?
I think we do.
Sack time, fellas. You're going down to the creek and brush your teeth, then come back and hit the old sleeping bags.
I think it's time for a little camping trip, and this is a camping trip that I decided to take for myself based on something that doesn't get mentioned in this memo, and that is the very issue of camp. We know that William Dozier was a little bit poo-poo-ish whenever he was asked about the camp aspect of the show. He didn't really want to talk about it or didn't really agree with it. But, what Semple is presenting to us here in this memo, it seems to me, is a kind of guide to camping without calling it that. Particularly since, one of the basic elements of camp is taking something incredibly seriously that is not serious. The fact that people are wearing costumes and nobody seems to notice. is, it's not camp because it's self-conscious, but it is camping. It is, suggesting that there's something, weird going on here that's completely unrealistic, but it's because we take so seriously the idea that it's, normal for people to be wearing costumes and beating up crooks who are also wearing costumes and, turning the reservoir to gelatin, to strawberry axle grease, et cetera, that, the whole notion of taking these things as though they were, just the way things are, which really comes to a head for me in those first couple of pages of Semple's memo, where he talks about how no one in Gotham City thinks that Batman and Robin are weird because they're used to it. It's completely normalized to them that these kinds of battles and, people in colorful costumes and capes are, going to this is just going to happen. As Batman himself put it at least once, we shouldn't want to arouse any suspicion. Just because they're wearing costumes.
Ringside table, Batman?
Just looking, thanks. I'll stand at the bar. I shouldn't wish to attract attention.
We don't want to, we don't want to create a scene. Just the fact that that is so de rigueur to the people of Gotham is, in fact, an act of camping in itself. So, most of what we've got here in Semple, I think, can be maybe not reduced to, but it could be described in terms of a kind of camping in which the more seriously you take the ridiculous, the funnier it is. Even though the playing it up as, really melodramatic is great for kids because they're thinking melodramatically anyway. I mean, think about what I said about the death of Riddler's mole in the first arc. That seemed incredibly serious to me because it was like life and death. But watching it now, it feels like it's been way watered down from anything that's like a lethal event.
Yeah, well, and as Nancy pointed out, Molly seems kind of stupid there too. Why does she climb the pile? Why is she like, oh help, I can't do anything? So from that point also, it's like, huh? But as a kid, it's like, oh no, Molly,
Exactly. Yeah, that's exactly right. So I think camping, that is self-conscious camp, is really baked into this entire document. All of the ways in which things that, events that the characters themselves take completely seriously or take it in stride, like the fact that Batman has always got exactly what he needs in his utility belt. That's very much the essence of putting it on, of putting on camp. So we haven't had occasion to talk much about camp lately, but I just wanted to throw this in as a reminder that this show is very much a camping trip all the way. Again, if it were unselfconscious about the way in which it takes the unserious seriously, then it would be pure camp in Susan Sontag's sense. Like bad movies like, Plan 9 from Outer Space, that don't know how bad they are and yet are just like risibly terrible. That's pure camp.
So bad it's good. Yeah.
Exactly. But this is camping done very self-consciously, whether Dozier liked it or not.
Yeah.
And it's very much part of the recipe of the show, and that's one of the really kind of fun elements that came out of all of this for me, especially when I was putting together the outline last week. It really, it occurred to me that all of these bullet points that we reduced the document to, in many ways add up to ways of making the deeply unserious into something that seems serious, and playing it straight is the only way to make it funny. Including, I might mention, the fact that O'Hara and Commissioner Gordon are so ridiculously awful at their jobs. I think that some of the camp element might have been lost, actually, the camping element, in making them so inept. As time went on, there is something campy about it, but it feels like it's trying too hard compared to some of the other camp elements that are so structural that to the show that Semple talks about here, to make them stupid rather than just make them incompetent when it comes to anything beyond rape, murder, petty larceny, car theft, whatever, kind of undercuts the spirit of what Semple is putting together here. But maybe it was just too irresistible since, for one thing, Gordon, Neil Hamilton is so good at being serious that sometimes he's able to pull off the camping aspect of it anyway. But O'Hara, I don't get me wrong, I love Stafford Rapp. I think he's great, and I've seen him in other movies where I think he's even better. But here he's just playing it for Ian Bagara, and that ends up making it less campy, I think, because it just becomes somewhat preposterous.
Well, I mean, he's Irish in quotation marks, so that's
you have a good point there. That's true. But he wouldn't have to be incompetent to be Irish.
Mother McCree.
Exactly. Saints preserve us. Okay, well, I guess we're done at the creek.
Okay. Coming up, what's going on with our book? Bat audio on the arrival of Batgirl, and a notable name in the Bat inbox. Join us on Patreon to support the show and get bonus content. For just $2 a month, you get access to our mini show Bat Bits, shorter conversations about Batman 66. New Batpulse episodes such as this one are available on Patreon ad-free, and I'll tack on some of our chatter recorded as we were getting ready to record this episode. For a $4 monthly donation, you also get the right to have an ad for your own project on the show once a month, and hours of exclusive podcasts, including Silver Age Batman, in which I'm joined by a rotating cast of my associates from my various podcasts, including Paul, discussing 1950s Batman comics. Also on our Patreon, podcasts on the first 50 issues plus annuals of Amazing Spider-Man, Jim Starlin's work on Captain Marvel, and more. So go to patreon.com/deconcomics and select the level of your monthly donation. Thanks for listening, and thanks for your support. Strange parasitic beings are taking over human minds and then killing other humans for food. But what if the alien takes over your hand and not your brain? That's the pitch for Hitoshi Iwaaki's manga Parasite. In the second season of Full Manga Alchemists, Patrick and I are discussing the story chapter by chapter, looking at not only the story itself, but where it intersects with our own experiences of living in Japan. We're also comparing two different English translations of Parasite to the original and evaluating their respective translators' choices. And every time we finish a volume of Parasite, we insert an episode on some aspect of our Season 1 topic, Hiromu Arakawa's Full Metal Alchemist. Listen every other Monday on your favorite podcast app, Full Manga Alchemists. In our Bat audio segment, the background on the addition of Batgirl to the show, from an unidentified TV show. The video is on the YouTube channel Just Wondering 50. The link is in the show notes.
After 2 successful seasons, Dozier decided to give fans a treat by introducing a sexy new character.
Holy transformation. 1 minute, plain Barbara Gordon, librarian and Commissioner Gordon's daughter. And the next minute, something new has been added. Batgirl, modeled after her idol, Batman. Ready for this crucial moment, and off to make her first foray in her own beautiful, beguiling way through her secret exit.
It was Bill Dozier who came up with the thought, well, we'll give Commissioner Gordon a daughter, and she will be like a female Batman. In other words, even her father won't know that she's Batgirl.
Holy apparition! No, Boy Wonder, I'm Batgirl. You are no longer alone, Caped Crusaders.
Seen here in a recently discovered presentation made for the network executives, Batman producers test actress Yvonne Craig in the newly created role of Batgirl.
Who is she? Where'd she come from?
I have no idea, Robin.
Craig's early training, including ballet studies with the Ballet Russe, came in handy when fighting bad guys.
I think they probably chose me because they knew I had a dance background, and although they didn't want me to do my stunts, and I ultimately did my own stunts, I mean, I kind of talked them into that, they knew that I danced, and what they didn't know was that I rode a motorcycle so I could do the stuff on the bikes.
Now, to get you out of those silk straitjackets.
Holy vanity case. What a time to powder her nose.
Correction, Boy Wonder. It's my electronic Batgirl compact with a laser beam, which will destroy anything.
This test showed the transformation of the dynamic duo into a tremendous trio.
Oh, you're some clever worm, Bookworm.
Oh, it's books, my sweet Lydia. Books, books. That's the secret of my success. Books. Oh, I read them all. I inherit the wisdom of the ages. Every plot ever devised is here, inside my head.
Oh, Bookworm, with a mind like yours, I wonder why you don't write your own bestseller.
Shut up! Oh, don't you dare say that to me.
But Bookworm,
No, you're taunting me, aren't you?
No, Bookworm!
Yes, you are! You're taunting, mocking me! And why?
Hey, so I guess last year sometime we said something on the show about writing a book. What actually happened with that?
Well, somewhere along the line, Paul dropped out of writing the book with many regrets. So while I am, still planning to have a role in editing the final manuscript and, working with Tim on that, I am not actually doing the writing. Tim has taken this on out of the graciousness and need of his own art.
Determination to get this out.
That's right.
But I mean, Paul is very busy, and I'm also pretty busy, and I have trouble making any progress on this when school is in session. I teach high school next year is going to be 4 days a week, and I have proofreading, and the free time that I have is sopped up by podcasting. So when there's no school, summer vacation or a break or winter vacation or whatever, that's when I make all the progress, pretty much.
Yes, and I've got 2 other writing projects on the hopper right now, so that's the main reason I've had to beg off.
Yeah. So when I started out, I was basically just thinking of it as an alternative to Eisner's Bat Book or Chris Gould's Batman at 45. Focusing on season 1, just like Gould did. He did a season 1 book and then a season 2 and a season 3, and then after that self-published them all as one book, and included write-ups of the 40s serials also, which I don't think I'm going to do. It's enough work to get the series written up. And so I've just been, just writing up each arc of season 1. I've got 4 left that I haven't gotten to. But a few months ago, I realized that this book is trying to be about the writing of the show. And partly I realized that because I've been including kind of summaries of the differences between the early drafts and the final versions. Because as we've shown on To the Bat Polls, that's pretty interesting. And it helps you to see what was kind of on the mind of, in this case, Semple editing the scripts. And now that we've got the Batnotes memo, that just adds to it, because now we've got it all in writing, what his thoughts were about what the show should and shouldn't be.
Right. The guidelines, even if they weren't always adhered to, are extremely helpful.
Yeah.
In this sense.
So I'm probably going to have to adjust some of what I've written and do more in the way of an introduction than I'd originally planned to. So I had hoped that I would finish it by the end of 2025. It's not going to happen, but surely in 2026, I can wrap up the season 1 book and figure out how to get it out there. That's something I haven't even really thought about yet.
Well, when Tim decided this was really about the writing, a big light bulb exploded over my head. It's like, that's it. This is what this book could do that other books about Batman don't. And that's what's going to make it useful. There's just that focus. I mean, like the Bat Coffee Table book, who could improve on that?
Right. Yeah. I mean, I was, that was another one that I was up against, and like that doesn't have much in the way of summaries of episodes, but in other ways, it's like, and I was like, okay, so am I supposed to write about the genesis of the show? But it's all written up so well in the Bat Coffee Table book. What am I just supposed to like look at that and write the same things in different sentences?
No,
didn't make any sense.
So I think Tim really stumbled on the key to making this book indispensable.
Right. So, and I still hope that someday Scott and Ben will write a book about the scene, the locations where Batman was shot.
Yeah, that's incredible research. I love hearing, every little bit that dribbles out of the work that they've done.
Yeah, they found so many details about things, and yeah, it really needs to be gathered up into a volume that can be reference for us. But I mean, that hasn't been our focus. I mean, from almost the beginning of To the Bat Poles, it's been, our focus has been about scripts and writing and that kind of thing. So it makes sense for the book, the series of books, to follow in those footsteps. So
Tim, let me interview you for 1 second. Will this book actually include plot summaries?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I've written a lot of plot summaries already.
But that's not necessarily replication. I mean, other books about Batman, do plot summaries, right? That's Eisner's books. One of its great strengths is just you can go back and refer to it. But from the perspective of the writing of the show as a 3-season, entity, and how it, evolved or changed or, shifted when Semple left, or, how these rules of Semple's got brought to light or adjusted along the way, those plot summaries haven't really been written from that perspective before.
Yeah, when in the future someday when I get to season 2, then it's going to be like, here's the Semplean ideal falling apart.
Right, but it doesn't, but we don't have to present it in terms of like a fall from grace. Rather just, how
we'll save that approach for season 3.
Okay, you got me there. But rather, just the history of the, maybe not erosion, but development, transformation, setting aside of the idea because of contingencies like ratings were dropping, or the budget was falling, to pieces.
Right.
We need to be, thinking historically here, and I'm sure that's where it's headed.
But anyway, for now, I'm focused on season 1 and Semple's idea for the show,
right,
and how that appeared on the screen. So, yeah, so it is coming. It's not as quickly as I might have liked, but it's coming.
Yay!
So, kind of a bad inbox. Hasn't been very much mail, although actually I went back and our previous episode was in February on a Joker script, and I hadn't looked at the thread on the all-seeing, all-knowing 66 Batman message board.
Boy, it's been a long time since I've had to do that.
I hadn't looked at it until just the other day, and I realized that the last post there said that the link to the script on our site was broken. So I finally fixed it. So if you want to, I'm trying to, my old man memory is failing me. It was, I think it was the Maharaja episode.
Right.
Joker trumps an ace.
Yes.
Looking in the DVD booklet. So now you can finally go back to that post from February and click the link and see the actual script and listen to the podcast you already listened to 10 months ago, but have forgotten all about. But I did want to mention here, as kind of a notable correspondence, back in July on Facebook Messenger, I got a message from Frank Santopadre, who wrote, "Tim, you don't know me at all. I'm a comedy writer and podcaster, hosted a show with Gilbert Gottfried for 7 years. But I had to reach out to tell you how wildly impressive To the Batpoles is. Such exhaustive research and analysis. I plugged it on the new show I'm doing. Bravo to you and your brother." And we corresponded a bit. And so his new show is called Fun for All Ages. One of his earliest episodes was about it was supposed to be about the villains of the Batman show, but they had a lot of trouble staying on topic.
You mean other podcasts have that problem too?
Oh, yes. Yeah, this was published July 22nd. But he found our podcast when he was researching for that episode, and then he, as he mentions here, he gave us a plug, which sounded like this.
And I have to plug this podcast and website that I stumbled on by two brothers named Tim and Paul Young it's called To the Batpoles. And if you think my research is exhaustive, check out these guys who are doing a dive 10 times deeper than this dive.
I love it.
Which is truly disturbing, exhaustive to say the least.
Frank, thanks for the shout out. Thanks for promoting us. I don't know that it's made that big of a difference in our downloads. Of course, there also haven't been new To the Batpoles episodes since then, until now. So I don't know. We'll see if this one suddenly goes through the roof or not. But anyway, I just wanted to say thank you to Frank for the kind words.
Yes, absolutely.
I don't know. I mean, we've talked about this and we don't completely agree about it, but I think we should occasionally do it To the Batpoles just to keep people in the loop on what's going on, like talking about the book. But for the most part, we're doing Bat Bits on Patreon, ideally every 2 weeks. Our respective test periods at our schools have kind of messed that up, plus the planning for this Batpoles episode. But in the new year, I think we'll get back on track and cover a script. And you can hear that for $2 a month, which is like dirt cheap. I mean, you'd spend more money going to Starbucks. And for $4 a month, you can also hear me with Paul or others talking about 1950s Batman comics.
Right, the Silver Age before the New Look Batman hit.
Yeah, eventually, I think we'll get to the New Look. So far, I've just been using what's included in the book Batman in the 50s, but I mean, for the first time, the Patreon shows that we're publishing are actually like causing membership to increase. So I'd like to keep these series going. So for the Silver Age Batman show, I'm starting to pick out other stories that aren't in the Batman in the 50s book.
Right, and I should mention to Tim that Christmas is coming.
Okay. And Batman in the 60s is out of print, I found. But
really?
But it exists on eBay, so right. I might have to get it from there. But I don't really need it right now because there's plenty of 50s material to look at.
Right.
But, So I can't talk about next time. I don't know what next time is. But yeah, we're planning to cover a riddle a day script on Bat Bits. So hope you'll join us over there on Patreon.
Yes, please do.
Okay.
All right. Well, nice to be back with everybody. Nice to say the word camp with a capital C for once in a while, and this is a great context in which to do it.
Yeah. So, thanks for joining us here at the same Bat RSS feed. The clips of Lorenzo Semple were from the TV Academy's 2008 interview of him. That's linked from the show notes, as well as the Smooth 4 Life version of the theme, the homepage for Frank Santopadre's Fun for All Ages podcast, and our account on Blue Sky at To the Batpoles. You can send us your comments via Blue Sky or the thread for this episode at 66batman.com. You can drop us a line or send us a donation through PayPal at batpoles@deconstructingcomics.com. You can also listen and comment via the Deconstructing Comics channel on YouTube or at our own site, tothebatpoles.libsyn.com. Support the show at patreon.com/deconcomics and get access to our Bat Bits and Silver Age Batman podcasts. We hope you'll join us there. Talk to you soon, citizens. To the Batpoles is a production of deconstructingcomics.com.